Hi everybody, Alicia with Expressions by Lish. Today I just wanted to share with you tips that I am using for swap cards. I belong to a team called the Incredible Crafters, and we do a monthly card swap. And I'm always looking for ways for shortcuts, like, to save on time. And when I'm making multiple cards, I love a good shortcut. So what I was doing was, I thought, you know what, it would go so much faster if I could just die cut everything and then stamp on it. Well, then I was thinking, I wonder if I'll get them straight. And then I thought, light bulb moment, use your Stampin' Positioner. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Is I've already die cut out my label, and this is the Sweet Words and Labels dies. So I've already cut this, and I want to stamp the coordinating image on this die. And so what I'm going to do is I am going to place the piece of basic white cardstock that I used to die cut from. Okay, and as you can see, I've got two. We're going to use this because I've already die cut out the flowers. So I'm going to use this and this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my stamp and I'm going to place that in the center of that. That way I know exactly where I want to place my stamp when I put it on my positioner, because then I'm going to place the dies that I cut out inside of this as like a little guideline. So I'm just putting it in here, and you'll know because you can't push it any further. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm making sure that the stamp is regained its shape. Okay, so we're going to do that. I'm going to put one magnet on there so it doesn't move, and then I'm going to put my top plate and I'm going to push down, and that will pick up my stamp. Okay, and I'm just going to push this back down. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my die cuts and I'm going to place that in the center. And then I'm going to take my other magnet, I'm going to put that right in the center of the die, because nothing will be stamped there. I don't have to worry about it interfering. And I'm just placing this over the top, making sure that this looks about right. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip this over, and then I am going to ink up my stamp with my tuxedo black ink. And I'm just lightly pushing that on. And what's good about this is that if you don't get a good clean image, you can stamp over, because it will be in the same position. It has not moved. Fingers crossed this works. And I'm just lightly pressing that down. And there we have, there is my stamp. But I can see that I would like a little bit cleaner of an image there. So I am just going to replace that back down, and I'm going to press again. Normally I would re-ink, but I noticed that the ink was still on my stamp. And there we have it. There is our image. And I think that's a pretty good, clean, semi-straight image. I could mess with it a little bit more to get it over to the side just a little bit, but I think that's pretty great. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm then, I'll do all of my stamping, I'll stamp all of these. Then I'm going to, when I'm done with that, then I'll turn my piece of paper, and I'm just going to butt that right up to these little pegs here. And then I am going to place a magnet on there. I'm going to clean off my stamp with my little mini chamois. I'm going to place that aside. And then I'm going to take, I'm using the Garden Gatherings for my swap. And so I'm going to grab the stamp that I need for that. And I am using the flowers, the traditional looking type flowers. And I am going to place, oh gosh, you guys see that? It's an ant. Get out of here. Hold on. Let's get rid of that ant. Ugh, gross. Okay, so I'm going to place this inside here, okay? And I'm just making sure that it's, you know, touching all the way at the bottom. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take my plate and I'm going to pick that stamp up. And I'm going to remove that. And then I'm going to use Peaceful Pine for the stems on this. I'm going to place my, let's see if I could, I think I have two together, because when I die cut, one of the things I do too, because it's just an outline die, I cut two at a time so they were stuck together. I'm going to take this and I'm going to place that right in the center. And then I'm going to take the magnet and put it towards the top, because I don't believe that that will interfere. I'm going to check first though, before I stamp my image. And I am just taking my ink pad and I am just tapping on there, just like that. I'm going to move it across, and that looks pretty well inked up to me. And then I'm going to see if that's going to interfere, and it is going to interfere a little. So I'm going to move it over and see if I can't grab onto it. That should be good. Just a little, I want to make sure that that just doesn't move. Then I'm going to stamp that down. And I think that looks pretty darn good. And then what I'm going to do is I will do all of them, and then I will clean this off, and then I'm going to position the little flowers in there, and that way it will line up. This is a great way, if for this kind of stamping, to use your Stampin' Positioner, because this way you know for sure that everything is going to line up. Okay, so I'm just going to slide that magnet over. Then I'm going, I know that the stamp, the smallest, is at the top. Okay, and then I'm just going to line that up, and there is a little cutout in your stamp that you can see through that is the little dot for the center of our flower. So I'm just lining that up. Then I'm going to take my plate and I'm going to pick that up. Okay, and I forgot to put the magnet on there. So I'm going to very gently put my finger under there. There's always a way, and that's what's good about having this on here, because you can just line that right back up inside of the cutout. Okay, so now I'm going to take the magnet. Oh, I love these new magnets that you can pick them up so easy. And I'm just going to put it right at the bottom. Okay, I'm going to make sure that this is lined up again. And I believe it is. I'm going to flip this over, and then I'm going to use Barely Blush. And this is another great thing with the Stampin' Positioner, is you can go over it if you want to keep inking it to get a darker stamped image. And I'm just going to do it once, because I'm going to go over my petals for my card with the shimmering, Barely Blush shimmering pen. Okay, just going to set my ink pad back, and we're going to put this over the top just like that, and we're going to stamp down. Okay, I'm going to lift that up, And voila, we have our stamped image. And now you can see that isn't exactly, I don't really like that image. So because it is a new stamp set that I've barely used and these ink pads are super juicy, I was really gentle with it and I didn't probably get as much ink on as I should have. So I'm just going to go over that again, making sure that I really ink up this flower really good, because that's the one that didn't get a crisp image. I am going to then go over it again. I'm just going to take it. And what's great is with the Stampin' Positioner is it's spring loaded, so therefore it's not touching yet. So before, remember when I didn't put my magnet on, it wasn't a loss because nothing was touching. Nothing will touch your paper until you push it down. Okay? And we're just going to, and you can see through it how it's going to go. Okay, so I'm satisfied with that now, because as this dries, the ink will disperse, and I am going over that with the shimmer pens. And that's why I didn't stamp again with the pine, the Peaceful Pine, because I am going to go over that with my shimmer pens. And as you can see, that looks pretty great, I think, lined up on the die cut. So that is my tip and my trick for stamping, die cutting everything, and then stamping. So you just want to keep your piece of paper, that your cardstock that you used for die cutting, as your template. And then that way you can position your stamp in there to put it on your plate, and you can put your die cuts in as you need. So that will be when I do my next one right here. Well, thank you guys so much. I hope that this helped you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. If you go to expressionsbylish.com, that has all my information to get a hold of me. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you later. Bye.